Welcome, everyone, to our very first Kadena Eco Project Spotlight AMA, which means Ask Me Anything. This new series is meant to showcase some of the exciting projects being built on Kadena and the people behind them. My name is Dan Wiggins, and I'm with Kadena Eco, which is an innovation network driving hypergrowth of what we believe is the best Layer 1 blockchain out there. This week, we couldn't be more excited to spotlight the founders of Lago Finance, Sergio Mello, and Matt Teeter. Hey, guys.
Hey, Dan, great to be here.
Yep. As a quick reminder for everybody who's watching the stream, you can ask questions in the comments, and we will grab those comments and put them as an overlay over the screen. I'll read them, and then Matt and Sergio can answer those questions. So thanks, guys. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to have a lot of fun talking about Lago. But before we get started, I wanted to have everybody give some brief intros. Let's start with Sergio and then Matt.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Dan. I am Sergio. I'm an Italian entrepreneur. I grew up partially in Italy. I started a Web 1 business there. Then I moved to Asia. I started a Web 2 business. And then I moved to San Francisco and now Miami. And that's where I've been dealing with Web3. So I've covered all the webs. Hopefully Web 5 coming soon, since I'm a big fan of self-sovereign identity, but that's for another conversation. I've been doing entrepreneurship all my life, and in one of the latest companies I worked at, I also met Matt. We clicked and we vibe very well when it comes to talking tokenomics and the future of finance. And here we're together today.
Hey everyone, I'm Matt, CFO of Lago Finance. My background is in finance, traditional finance. I dropped out of my master's program to start my first Web3 company. It was an algorithmic trading platform with both a retail and an institutional component. Very interesting times. It was 2017, 2018. It was a pretty wild ride, and I decided to go back into traditional finance for a while. Ran an FX desk doing about 100 million a day. Got a lot of great experience, but really realized from that the scalability was very poor, and that I saw the future of Web3, that it could be so much better through instant finality, through other scalability mechanisms. So I decided to go back into Web3 and I was involved in a couple other projects. And then now I want to take all of that experience and combine it together and bring the future of DeFi to Kadena.
Awesome, thank you guys. And the quick thumbnail on me. So my background is actually video games, and I started poking at blockchain in sort of 2016, 2017. I did a little bit of investing, sort of that ICO craze. And then during COVID, I helped some friends stand up some new Web3 focused gaming studios. And I had actually looked at the usual suspects for protocol partners before being introduced to Kadena. Before I actually joined Kadena officially, I actually bugged Sergio, who's one of the smartest people I know in crypto. I'm a fellow sort of Californian to Floridian as part of that tech migration. And I wanted to make sure that he saw the same things that I saw at Kadena, which is a scalable proof of work network with high transaction throughput, low transaction cost, and better potential for UX, and a simple but robust smart contract language. And then fast forward a month or two after I joined, Sergio's like, hey, guess what? We're going to go build a stablecoin on Kadena. And so that idea is now Lago Finance. So I guess the first question, which is a total softball, what is Lago Finance?
Lago is, as the name says, represents what lakes do when liquidity pools around between the mountains. They collect all the liquidity in a very optimized and efficient way that blends very well with nature and the environment. So that's the inspiration for our first hand stint in Web3. Clearly, Matt and I have been working in various projects before in Web3. Anything, especially I've been mostly involved with payments, anything from central bank digital currency down to the chips that are inside payment cards, to wallets, to online reputation and identity. So I understand the whole spectrum of components and things that are necessary for functional Web3 finance. And also Matt and I have a very strong vision about what the convergence of traditional finance and decentralized finance is.
Awesome. So stablecoins.
Matt, you can chime in if you want.
Oh, sorry. Matt, you're in
Oh
mute.
yeah, no, I mean, yeah. So our vision long term, I think, for Lago Finance is more about bridging the DeFi and the TradFi ecosystems together. We really see, bridges are really, people think of crypto bridges, but bridging is really a much broader term. I mean, even a stable coin is a bridge. Taking USD and putting it into a stable coin is a bridge between TradFi and DeFi. So we see what we are doing really as trying to bring more bridges to crypto and to bridge two ecosystems that have been apart for far too long, because there would be so much more efficiency if you could combine the two.
Yep. Okay. So stablecoins, I guess for the folks who are watching who are not familiar, so they are now currently 15% of the total crypto market cap, which I think is up from 5x from the beginning of 2021 when they're about 3%. What are they? Who's using them, and why are they useful?
There's two main uses for stablecoins. I'm trying to say, we have a game where I'm teasing Matt to start, and then I start before him. There's two main uses for stablecoins today. The first one is pure DeFi play, where you hedge against volatility, and jumping between ownership of various crypto tokens can be very difficult to risk manage, volatility manage. Stablecoins being pegged to a specific fiat currency, most likely the US dollars, but there's others, allow to de-risk that. But the second main use is it's a better form of money. A lot of the global institutional and commercial transactions settle through banking rails. And those banking rails usually have a finality of a few days, a day sometimes. Rarely within the US, you can also see a few hours finality, but most international big transactions really are T+1, 2, 3. And there's inefficient. It's pure capital inefficiency. So we've seen stablecoins being adopted in the last few months by major international payment and settlement providers and agencies for instant settlement, which means if A has to send $1 to B, that dollar can immediately pop up in B's wallet without opportunity for confusion, for uncertainties, for any event to occur that would revert that transaction. So stablecoins cover those two use cases. Now, of course, architecting a stablecoin and issuing and minting a stablecoin is a huge endeavor, because there's a lot of options and a lot of different characteristics that define stablecoins.
Yep. Thank you. So there's a couple questions I'm going to ask in the audience about algorithmic stable coins, but I want to quickly ask one quick question about that I think is germane to Kadena and Lago, and then we'll talk about algorithmic stablecoin. So what is a centralized stablecoin and what is a decentralized stablecoin? Because I think that distinction is important.
Okay, yeah. So really, it comes down to governance. A centralized stablecoin has the ability to revoke any account, to blacklist accounts. It's essentially the traditional financial world being built in crypto. A decentralized stablecoin has a DAO usually behind it. There's governance by the community. There's not this ability to take other people's tokens. Everything has to be done by vote. There's no central entity behind it. We really believe that the decentralized stablecoins are going to be much bigger in the future. We think that right now, what is the point of the Web3 ethos if everything is built on top of a centralized infrastructure? So to us, that's how we view the market. And we believe that in the future, other traditional financial firms and other institutions are going to feel the exact same way.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, so on to now the hard questions. Algorithmic stablecoin. Those two words have recently been followed by a string of pejorative statements. What exactly is an algorithmic stablecoin? And how do you compare Lago versus, I'm just going to say the stablecoin who shall not be named? It might actually be more than one. And then something such as USDC or USDT.
Okay, so first of all, anyone that would see a a parallel between the word Lago and the word algo is purely coincidental. Second, algorithmic stablecoin simply means that the mechanics that are designed to maintain the peg rely on algorithms that are ingrained and programmed in smart contracts. And so they're immutable, they keep running, they're possibly permissionless and eternal, I would say, with some caveats. Against the other option that is fiat backed. We are very much not agreeing with the definition that an algo coin and a stable backed coin are mutually exclusive. We think that the two can be characteristic that coexist in the same tokenomics design and the same financial engineering architecture. Fiat backed means that a stable coin has enough reserves in the denomination of fiat that is pegged to redeem one token for one unit of fiat. So if ours is a US dollar stablecoin and we have minted or issued 1 million tokens of USD2, which is the name of the stablecoin, and we have $1 million somewhere stashed in reserves, banks, various instruments that are liquid enough to be accessible immediately, then we can redeem every token holder with $1 back if they so decide to exit their position and liquidate their USD2 token. That's full redeemability, and that's what fiat-backed tokens and stablecoins are for. But this does not imply that there shouldn't be a smart algorithm that uses capital efficiency and reserve token mechanics to complement the minting mechanism to augment the capability of revenue generation from treasury operations and from algorithmic market operations. Matt can explain a little bit more what these AMO are. They're very important. And we have to say that we've been very inspired by Frax, FRAX, which is the most successful algo stablecoin so far in the token design for this.
Yep. So a related question, and I apologize if I mispronounced your screen name. It's from Machina, which I want to ask, if we want to collateralize up to 100%, why do we actually need the algo stablecoin mechanism incorporated?
Yeah, I can answer that one. So really, it comes down to governance, like I was just talking about. Right now, with USDC, USDT, many of these other major fiat-backed stablecoins, how they work is they're essentially just a centralized thing that comes from a bank and then is moved on chain. So the algorithmic portion actually provides that decentralization through its governance token that allows you to actually have this Web3ification of the actual stablecoin. So currently, also, there's another part of this. It is the revenue management. So how it happens in fiat-backed stablecoins is there's a dollar that goes into a bank and then it's just shut there and it's left there for, indefinitely until there's a redemption. How you can do with the actual reserve management of an algorithmic stablecoin is that you can take those funds and you can use them in order to bolster liquidity for your stablecoin in other ways. So you can go and you can lock them in pools. You can do other DeFi related things that don't add risk but increase the liquidity and increase the ability for usability for your stablecoin in comparison to these other fiat-backed. Also, then this adds to the DeFiification of this entire process. And then this allows for more usability for the end user and gives extra features that we think will be seen as a benefit over time versus a fiat-backed counterpart.
Yep, got it. Awesome. So I'm going to grab a question, which is from the Hedge Pro, which is going to put up any concerns on regulation in regards to the stablecoin you're creating. Just a little bit more backdrop. So there is the Stablecoin Trust Act, which is in legislation which has been proposed. And because of the events over the last several weeks, there's been additional calls for regulation. Just would love any sort of background on the background for regulation and how it specifically intersects with the stablecoin that Lago is working on.
Yeah. So first of all, regulations are there to protect consumers and all players in the game. So we clearly welcome regulation for what they're meant for. Specifically to stablecoins, regulations haven't occurred yet, just because stablecoins are a new thing. If we look historically at regulatory production cycles, the election years like this year are usually a little less prolific. So we don't really expect some regulations to appear any soon, maybe 12, 24 months. Nevertheless, we know that most regulators are working on this, and we welcome that. There's obviously a lot to say about where do you draw the line and what's regulated and what's not. So what's the field and the scope of the regulation. And stablecoin itself today is hard to define, because you have completely decentralized tokens like Frax, and you have completely centralized issuers like USDT or USDC. And encompassing all of them in single regulation could be challenging for a regulator. So we're very curious to see what's lying ahead. Matt probably has some more comments about that.
Yeah, I definitely do. I think going forward into the future, that most of the regulation is going to be moved towards fiat-backed stablecoins completely. Much like Bitcoin, our solution is going to be decentralized. So there is not going to be one entity that can be gone after to, provide this, legislation. So our plan with this governance is to have a way to be a buffer from the regulation. We are happy to comply with certain regulation, but otherwise, we're not going to be a controlling entity backing this. It's going to be the community around it that governs it. And so it's going to have to all be decisions made by that community instead of being one centralized entity.
Awesome, thank you. So jumping around a little bit, so I'm going to grab a question from Potato. I think he actually has several good questions, but how long before the bridge to ETH, and what exchanges are you going to list on first?
So bridge to ETH, it's already under testing. It's mostly produced and active, but as a team, as a company at Lago, we decided not to unreasonably raise expectations from the community. So when things are ready, we will properly announce them and launch them. Until then, we're head down building.
Awesome. Let's see here. Speaking of, where are you guys in development at the moment? If I don't know if you guys have a public-facing roadmap, but would love to understand a little bit more about what we can say in terms of what's coming, sort of Q2, Q3, Q4, and through the rest of the year.
Yeah, which it connects to the previous question. We definitely want to be able to issue the stablecoin by the end of the summer, but precise timelines are very hard to commit to in this environment. As a young company, we're hiring. We are definitely gearing up things very quickly, but the environment is changing so fast that it doesn't allow us to make predictions. Like, look at what the environment was 5 weeks ago, and look what it is now. I think that two of the major names in the history in the industry have literally been erased from the map overnight. So it's step by step, small steps wins here.
I'm going to take one more question about the algorithmic stablecoin from Carrie Allen, which is, what are the other features and benefits in the algorithmic stablecoin?
So as I said before, the dual token structure where you have the stablecoin aspect and the algorithmic and like the governance token algorithmic aspect, we find that extremely compelling. We think that there is a lot of firepower there, and there's a lot of interesting things that you can do, especially in terms of governance. Really, from my perspective as like a tokenomics person, I don't even think we've begun to scratch the surface of what's all possible. Like, if you look at something like Curve and what they've done, it's basically like a fire hose of liquidity that people can vote on in order to control that fire hose, and it's now become the colloquial Curve Wars. So, I think that there is so much that can be done with an algorithmic stablecoin, and it's very unfortunate that people view them so negatively just because certain actors have lacked collateral in the past. So we really want to change the opinion of people around algorithmic stablecoins and the different benefits that they can have.
Yep. And then one related question. Yes, there's I'm sensing a theme. This one is from Stewart. How would the unpeg of a stablecoin like USD2 affect KDA? Using the example of the stablecoin who shall not be named and their related governance token.
Yeah, I'm happy to take this one as well. So really with Kadena, we're not going to be directly connected with them. So, like with Terra, Luna was a centerpiece of their entire ecosystem. We really don't see any contagion risk in that. I don't expect that we're going to have issues with being depegged, though. A lot of the risk in being depegged comes from lack of collateral. Considering that we're going to have full redeemability, there really should be no risk because anybody can go take one USD2 and get one USDC or one USD for it. So, I mean, with that system, there really should not be the loss of confidence that we saw in Terra Luna, because what happened there was that they did not have the collateral to back it. So as soon as confidence dropped, everybody realized that everybody went for the door. And once you go for the door, it's hard to pull that back. So it's more about like consumer confidence and ensuring the people that we do have collateral. We are here. This is not, a badly designed product like some of the other algorithmic stablecoins out there.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to grab one more question from Machina. Is there going to be an IDO for the reserve token of the Algo stablecoin?
This is a very personal question, like George Clooney said once in a famous movie. We cannot talk about that. Source of funding is not something that we're able to publicly discuss at the moment. And it's just like all the other announcements about important stuff. When it's time to announce, we will announce. But before then, we'd rather not unmanage expectations.
Noted. Grabbing a question from Tech. I imagine stablecoin regulation will require frequent audits. Are audits a part of your plans?
Yes, audits are definitely a part of our plans. I mean, so much of our reserves are going to be decentralized, so it's all going to be verifiable on chain at all times. So to us, I mean, audits are more for fiat-backed stablecoins that have all of their reserves. For us, you're going to be able to see most of the reserves. There might be a small portion that is not going to be able to be seen, but overall, I mean, you're going to be able to see much of it at all times. So, but yeah, we're happy to do audits as well.
Yeah, and adding on that, if you talk about code audits, yeah, of course, clearly there's already 3 or 4 or 5 companies that are able to audit Pact, and we're talking to all of them. So yeah, sure, absolutely. More eyes look at the line of code, the more likely any problem comes afloat earlier.
Yep. So switching gears, why did you guys choose Kadena as your partner?
We chose Kadena because we really believe that it's the layer 1 of the future. There has been many scalability issues that have been tested now. I don't want to name any names, but specifically there are the queue structures where you have everybody in line and people are able to jump through in line. Creates a lot of issues, and we don't necessarily see those solutions being able to reach 100 million, a billion consumers. And so we want to build on a chain that we believe can truly reach those magnitudes. And we think through Kadena's braided chain architecture and their ability to horizontally scale out chains, that this is a much better long-term solution than many of the other products that are out there. And we know many of them. I mean, we did a lot of technical due diligence before we started this project. So to us, we really see Kadena as the future.
Awesome.
Also, if I can add on that, I haven't really seen a proof of stake like network that is able to deliver on the scalability promise reliably with security and everything. So frankly, it's the only one that I can see working so far, Kadena with the proof of work. And I preemptively address a lot of the concerns that I usually hear about energy efficiency. And I invite everyone that is curious about that to read documentation about Kadena and how the braided chain architecture enables energy optimization. Because basically, while Bitcoin burns so much watt energy for mining per a single chain and so many transactions per block, Kadena can scale that up linearly to a huge amount of blocks per the same amount of energy spent. And so really, in the end, that's not a concern at all. In fact, the more Kadena scales with more braided chains, the more energy efficient it becomes, which is usually counterintuitive, and it's not usually what happens when you try to scale something up.
Makes sense. So the next question is, I don't know if you guys can comment on this. When is the partnership with? I'm assuming that is Cadex, not unless there's a Kadena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. So partnerships. Look, partnership is a big word, but if we build some interoperable, composable, permissionless asset and bridge on the Kadena network, anyone that has a bare minimum understanding of how assets and smart contracts and pact works is able to interoperate with that asset. Anyone can put it in their wallets. Anyone can build liquidity pools on any DEX. Now, if the DEXs have permissions in opening up the pools and starting new pair trades, that's their limitation. But our assets and our tools are absolutely permissionless. So no one needs to ask us for permission to partner. Of course, we are very well ingrained in the community, and we're very happy to have conversations with our friends at Cadex and Kiriswap, Kadena DEX, all the others. But it's the conversations are purely for a human perspective, and not because we need to open doors or open faucets of liquidity. It's a free world.
Awesome. I just want to prompt: does anybody who's currently watching, do you guys have additional questions that you want to ask Sergio and Matt? So one question which a couple of people have pointed at. So it's I'm gonna credit this one to the Hedge Pro. So what does your roadmap look like heading into 2025? Obviously, the world is uncertain. You have sort of an idea of what you're building today, tomorrow, 3-6 months. But can you perhaps talk about the bigger, broader vision for the coming years?
Yeah, so I mean, to us, when we look out that far, we're really thinking more about how DeFi and TradFi are going to start becoming one. I really think that instead of decentralized finance, we're just going to call it finance in the future, and that a lot of it's going to be in Web3. To us, it's more about trying to make these integrations with these traditional firms, with payment rails, with global settlement channels. That's our long-term focus, is trying to understand how do we put our products in their back end and create a seamless user experience that's not like the Web3 that we know today, but is like the typical apps that you would normally interact with on any given smartphone. That's how we think about the future going forward, and that's exactly what we're trying to build towards.
Yeah, exactly. So our vision is that the most successful blockchain products and technologies are the ones that will be transparent to the user. The mainstream users won't even realize there's a blockchain behind. And that's also why we start with a stablecoin, because if a stablecoin starts running through the streams of international finance and empowering applications to work better and faster, so the users and the end users will have better and faster experiences, there you go, mission accomplished. They don't need to know it's Web3. They don't need to use MetaMask or any other wallet. They don't need to know to use 12 words to store their wallets. It's just going to work better. That's the ultimate goal here. And so 2025 and further down, as I said before, it's hard to predict. Things change so quickly now. But definitely we try not to stay too focused on just Web3 and DeFi, because we see that the future is the convergence. The future is not just Web3 eating the world or Web3 taking over traditional finance. There's going to be a coexistence.
Yep. I'm going to take a question from Potato, and I'm jealous of the screen name. How are you guys funding this project?
Well, Potato, your profile picture is Bill Gates, so hopefully it can help. But as I said before, we're not disclosing our funding sources and intentions ahead. So, we have our experience clearly in starting a company. So there's many venues, and we're clearly going for some rather traditional ones, but it's a secret.
Let's see here. I think you mentioned this, but just in case, are you guys currently hiring? If so, for what roles? And then, for people who are watching this, if they wanted to collaborate with Lago, how should they reach out?
So yeah, anyone joining on our Discord or Twitter channels is usually met with a response. We're planning to open a careers page soon on our website, possibly today, actually. So just stay tuned and look it up there. We're definitely hiring technical talent, but also other type of institutional connoisseurs.
Yep. Let's see here. I don't see any other questions. I'm going to give this sort of 1, 2, 3, count of 3, and then if there aren't any other questions, I'm going to let Sergio and Matt get get back to building. So this has been a fascinating conversation, and thank you guys for being so generous with your time. And you can follow them on Twitter at Lago Finance, LAGO Finance, FINANCE. And this is for Kadena Eco, this is going to be one of many projects which we will be spotlighting in the coming weeks and months. And thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you so much. Brand.